Persecution against Ahmadi Muslims and other religious communities in Pakistan is unfortunately a common occurrence. Ahmadi Muslims in particular face state-sponsored persecution due to Pakistan's explicit anti-Ahmadi laws. Ahmadi Muslims and other religious communities have been the target of violence that is on the rise. Most recently, in July, Ahmadi Muslim graves were targeted in Pakistan because they included Islamic terminology and headstones destroyed in the presence of the police. As part of its efforts to raise awareness of these issues, the United Kingdom's all-party parliamentary group for the Ahmadiyya Muslim community launched a new report titled Suffocation of the Faithful, the Persecution of Ahmadi Muslims in Pakistan and the Rise of International Extremism. The report, the first ever such report by the APPG, was launched in Parliament on the 20th of July through an online webinar hosted on Zoom and YouTube. More than 5,300 people have viewed the broadcast from across 15 different countries. The new report follows an inquiry started by the APPG in 2018, held at the Houses of Parliament, where a range of experts and victims of persecution gave evidence to the parliamentarians. The launch of the report began with an introduction by the chair of the APPG for the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, Ms. Siobhan McDonough, the Member of Parliament for Mitcham and Morden.
This report, the first of its kind, was commissioned against the backdrop of a shocking pattern of sustained persecution against Ahmadi Muslims, including killings, assault, tyranny, attacks on place of worship, hate campaigns, deprivation of jobs, and denial of education.
The introduction was followed by a special message from His Holiness, Hazrat Mirza Masroor Ahmad, may Allah be his helper, Khalifatul Masih V, the worldwide head of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, read out by Mr. Fareed Ahmed, the National Secretary for External Affairs of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community in the UK.
Ahmadi Muslims in Pakistan have been persecuted and victimized in Pakistan for many decades. To cite a very recent example, last week dozens of gravestones of Ahmadi Muslims were demolished by religious extremists in a village in Pakistan after extremist clerics had complained that the gravestones contained Islamic terminology. All of this was done in the presence of members of the local police. Where such vile acts targeting Ahmadi Muslims and the perpetual denial of our religious freedoms are a means of grief to us, we also believe that it has a wider impact on society at large. Paramount to the success and progress of any nation is the principle of non-discrimination, and only those societies can truly progress in which all citizens are treated equally. Certainly, this was the noble vision laid out by the founder of Pakistan, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, and remains the true pathway to peace in any nation or society. In terms of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, we will always respond to the persecution we face with patience and by turning to God Almighty in prayer. We do not seek any special treatment or favors. Rather, our only desire is for the people of all faiths and beliefs to live side by side in peace and harmony, as taught by the Holy Quran, which unequivocally states there should be no compulsion in religion, chapter 2, verse 257. Furthermore, during his life, the holy founder of Islam, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, set a timeless and unparalleled example of religious freedom and plurality. Upon being elected as the head of state in Medina, he pronounced that every person was free to practice their faith and beliefs without fear of persecution or injustice. Consequently, it is our contention that freedom of belief, freedom of conscience, and true justice are the cornerstones for peace in all parts of the world. In light of this, I am extremely appreciative of the fact that the report you are launching today calls for religious freedom for all people, irrespective of their caste, creed, or color. Certainly, in the struggle for universal human rights, we stand shoulder to shoulder with all those who seek to help the victims of injustice and oppression. Despite the persecution we face in Pakistan and the myriad of restrictions placed upon us, Ahmadi Muslims continue to serve their nation with a spirit of love, selflessness and devotion, as loyalty to one's nation is an inherent part of Islamic faith. For example, the Ahmadiyya Muslim community in Pakistan has established many humanitarian projects and programs in order to serve the underprivileged and vulnerable members of society. We earnestly desire for Pakistan to prosper and to succeed. Indeed, we want all countries to flourish, and to achieve this, the human rights of all people must be upheld and protected. Every nation and every individual must play their role in the cause of peace, so that the world we bequeath to our children and future generations is a world of peace and prosperity. Finally, I wish to express my sincere gratitude and appreciation to all the members of the All-Party Parliamentary Group for your continued support and efforts. I pray that the launch of the report is successful and blessed in all respects, and may it fulfill its objectives. May Allah the Almighty bless you all for your efforts and services in the cause of peace. Ameen. With best wishes and prayers, yours sincerely, Mirza Masroor Ahmad, Khalifatul Masih V, head of the worldwide Ahmadiyya Muslim community.
Various speakers addressed the audience on the topics of persecution against Ahmadi Muslims and other religious communities, the international spread of persecution, and the rise in anti-Ahmadi extremism in several countries, including the United Kingdom. Speakers included Mr. Jim Shannon MP, the co-chair of the APPG for Freedom of Religion or Belief, the Right Honourable Jeremy Hunt MP, the former UK Foreign Secretary and a member of the APPG.
Fundamentally, if you have societies which allow freedom of belief, you have a society that puts a value on tolerance.
Ambassador Sam Brownback, the United States Ambassador at Large for Religious Freedom.
We've got to guarantee each other's religious freedom, and we have to not only tolerate, we have to respect and even really love each other's search for God and their faith.
Sir Ed Davey MP, the Vice Chair of the APPG and acting leader of the Liberal Democrats Party.
The stories we heard through taking evidence and the sheer compelling nature of this report's findings, I hope means that we can get a wider audience to understand what is going on in Pakistan.
Mr. Shahbaz Taseer, son of the late Salman Taseer, and an APPG inquiry witness. Mr. John Pontifex, the head of advocacy at the Catholic NGO, Aid to the Church in Need. Sir Iftikhar Ayaz, the chairman of the International Human Rights Committee. Fayaz Mughal OBE, the founder of Faith Matters. Sarah Khan, the Commissioner for Countering Extremism.
I hope everyone who's taking part on this webinar today, who care passionately about the universality of human rights and the dignity of each and every human being, and the right of Ahmadiyya Muslims to be able to live peacefully in our country without fear or stigmatization, can play their part in lobbying our government to adopt the Commission's recommendations on hateful extremism and to work to counter it.
Lord Alton of Liverpool, an APPG member and co-chair of the APPG for Pakistan Minorities. Lord Ahmed of Wimbledon, the Minister for South Asia and for Human Rights.
The Ahmadiyya Muslim community, a community that helped establish a multi-religious, and multifaceted and open human rights where religious freedoms could be protected as a country, a progressive Islamic state, today receives the brunt of the religious extremists.
The final remarks were presented by Mr. Rafiq Ahmed Hayat, the National President of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Community UK.
Ahmadis are not in any way against Pakistan. On the contrary, Ahmadis play a pivotal role in the service of the country. Our sole desire is that Pakistan should prosper and have peace. And the foundation for that is justice and for all its citizens to have equal rights. Sadly, Ahmadi Muslims are denied human rights and freedom of religion to the extent that life has become intolerable for Ahmadi Muslims living in Pakistan. We cannot sit idle The wide range of support shown in the report for the launch today is heartwarming, and I'd like to thank everyone who has contributed.
The full 150-page report and a full recording of the launch proceedings can be found online at the APPG's website, www.appg-ahmadiyyamuslim.org.uk. This report is brought to you by MTA International, UK Studios in London.